the green room to get the guitarist's phone.
Yeah.
And that's when he witnesses the key. One
Tim,
of the main
during
dudes.
the movie, Tim mentioned
Pat.
like don't they all have phones? I was like, not really. If they were stealing gasoline,
That's true.
if they're a traveling band making $6 a show, they only have one cell phone, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, she had her phone, and then they do this key scene later. Maybe you guys missed it, but the skinhead that knew them calls Pat's phone, but it was in his jean jacket that they ripped off. That was laying in the hallway, so they didn't know. But if he had that phone, things probably would have played out a little bit differently.
Yeah, I probably didn't have if it was a prepaid, it probably didn't have No, but it would still call 911, right? I thought that was a thing.
Yeah, that's an emergency. It'll call no matter what.
No matter what,
if you don't have minutes or...
Yeah, I mean, I can see how they got in this situation. Not that, they're desperate. I mean, in the beginning of the movie, he's explaining, he's there for the experience and the aggressiveness of playing and not, just putting this music out online and, getting all this press and having these, book shows. That's not why they play music. And so that can be an argument, they got themselves in this situation with this, sketchy-ass place, but... At the same time, he kind of got what he wanted out of it. It was that aggression that he was looking for through making music. I mean, obviously no one wants your hand almost, cut off. But I think that, kind of guides his, that and his, narrative about, paintball, why he decides to, just go, rogue and be fucking kill all these Nazis.
I thought it was super interesting that when they kind of hatched their first plan, they cut off Pat, the main character. He's injured, and they think he's kind of blabbing on about nonsense, and he's really trying to tell them this plan.
Right.
So I think that when they cut him off, that's why whatever plan they do kind of foils on itself.
Because there's no real plan. They never talk through it.
Yeah, but I think if they would have let him finish, they could have been all together and done what they had done from the beginning.
Right. Which is why one of the last characters asked him, "Hey, can you finish the story?"
Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool. And the way that he tells stories, this director, it kind of reminds me of Fede Alvarez, who did Don't Breathe.
Oh, yeah.
And the Evil Dead remake. Because he does these things that kind of... he does, these shots of maybe, future weapons or things that are going to happen, and then they play out later on in the film. But he makes an emphasis on them that you don't really know until it's happening. Mm-hmm. And this guy does the same thing throughout the film, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was different, and I didn't know what to expect. Especially, how you mentioned the quick deaths. Sometimes things are, dragging on. We get it, dude. You're, bleeding out. No, and I mean, I'm not trying to, I mean, you know what I mean. But I think, the fact that it happens so quick kind of stays true to, this kind of, nightmare situations where, you're not going to be hanging on to your last breath for, 5 minutes. If they're at your throat, you're done. So I like that, and it does kind of add that, level of, that thriller more than, horror, because they're not just, hey, let us show you these guts for, a full minute. It's more the thrill of who are they gonna get next?
Mm-hmm,
not ooh, how,
and they feel like real people, like you were saying before. I feel like these guys, for the most part, feel like real people, or like they could have been a real band, and they weren't at all prepared for this kind of situation, and that's why they make all these mistakes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They have this scene where they think that they're still waiting for them on the other side of the door, leading out of the green room, and they have that crazy light fixture or whatever, and they open the door and they throw it out and there's nobody there, and that's a classic mistake. They just wasted a weapon over nothing. You know what I mean? mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like they do that a lot throughout the film, where it just kind of sets up like, oh, this is like a real, like, this is really happening. This is grounded in reality. It's not like these action films where they're like firing at this guy at at point blank range, and they're not hitting him still or whatever.
Yeah, and the fact that they really they had these weapons, but they didn't have like full access to them. Like, they only had a few rounds. Like, it was just so controlled, I guess. Like, you've got this one shot, and if you don't make it, you're gonna be fighting this dude. So I thought that was pretty neat. That, like, yeah, I guess, like, not all of us are gonna be able to figure out a gun, you know? Like, I'd be like, where do I start? Can I get the owner's manual? Please, boss. And I think that's where a lot of them, like, when one of the girls, she's holding the fire extinguisher, and she can't really hold anything else. Like, she can't even hold the gun. And she's like, I don't, like...
And that becomes her weapon of choice, actually, the fire extinguisher.
And it worked a couple of times.
Yeah, which is... But it's kind of more, how you said, it's grounded on more truth. Like, not everyone is going to be able to just pick up a gun and, like, use it. It's more like, we'll find something around here that's gonna... try to save myself. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Even Amber, the skin bird that ultimately becomes their ally and helps them, towards the end of the film, she kind of holds this shotgun, and you can tell that she's never held a shotgun before, the way that she uses it or whatever. Like, her posture is like off and stuff. But I feel like it's so cool to me that they went to that extent to kind of make this so real or believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you go scene from scene, I feel like it's almost like a flawless film for what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but do you guys want to hear my questions?
Yeah.
And you can answer them individually. So what would you rate this film on a scale from 1 to 10? Annie, you can go first.
I would say maybe like an 8.5. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I, like you said, the beginning was like more open. They're like in this field, and then it becomes very like claustrophobic, like really quick. I thought I think I only give it that score because it took like a little bit to get where it was going, but now that I like saw the whole thing, like I feel like there was a big purpose to that. Like it was trying to ground those people, like they can be like you and me because they're freaking out. Like they're not just like, we're gonna make this plan, we're gonna get out of here. Like they have no idea how evil these people are. I mean, they saw that they killed one person, but if that was me, I would still think like, ooh, these people are gonna cover it up and they're gonna want us gone. I'm not gonna think like, ooh, they're gonna get me and kill me. So I thought that was that explains, but I'd still say like an 8.5.
Cool. Well, I feel like the beginning portion is to kind of establish who the band is and them as individual members, and kind of getting you to feel for them. So when they get into this scenario, you'll actually care. That's why this is so effective, is because you have to actually care. Tim.
I was actually thinking 8.5 also. I thought that it's very real and raw, like you guys said, and having, punk be the backdrop to that is fitting because, it has that raw vibe to it. And I felt like they captured the punk side of things pretty well. Also, like, the show kind of looked like what a show would look like with, sort of the graffiti on the walls or the
stickers
everywhere, kind of a feel. And also that when they first showed up to that guy Tad's house, like, they didn't know him. They're like, oh, you're Tad? He's like, yeah, go ahead and go stay up there. Like, because a lot of times, like, bands will, like, book tours through, like, say, like, the Pirate Punks, they have, like, chapters everywhere and will set you up with a place to crash and a show in each town. Or Maximum Rock and Roll Magazine had something called Book Your Own Life, and it was just numbers and contacts for people in different cities all across the United States, so you could book your own tour and kind of deal. And so, like, I thought that was pretty real looking, and I thought that the people's reactions and how someone would act if they were in a situation where someone's trying to kill them and they're trapped in a room. I thought it all felt pretty realistic, and
yeah, it's easy for us to say like, don't give him the gun, but like,
we're sitting
if
on
you're
the
trying
couch.
to get out, like, yeah, I'm gonna give you the gun.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're not thinking clearly when adrenaline takes over, or or that fear of what you don't know exactly what these people's intentions are.
The fact, like, I'm next to a dead body, like, get me out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the gun, like. Whereas it's easy for us to just say like, oh, don't give him the gun, you idiot. Like, no, yeah.
And one thing I liked that super spoiler is that the dude that's Jewish is the one that lived, and all the Nazis ended up dead. Because she made a point. She was like, "Don't make me tell the crowd that you're Jewish," and like before they played Nazi punks fuck off at the beginning.
I thought that was more of a joke.
I took it as a joke.
Dang, that would have been cool. A cool little angle to it. But yeah, I liked it a lot. 8.5 probably.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with everybody else and say 8.5 also. Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the guy who knows the MMA or jiu-jitsu or whatever in the movie.
Yeah.
The whole little speech he had about like, we just gotta leave and we gotta go now. And then he goes, if we all leave or try to go, we're not all gonna live. Or he's like, we might not all live or we might not all die. And then
it's like, we got to take this chance, we got to take it now before that window of opportunity closes.
Yeah.
It was more like we just run and whoever makes it.
I kind of hate the fact that him and the other guy died like super quick. The one guy got mauled by the dog, and then the other guy climbed out the window and just got stabbed to death.
Well, I felt robbed when I first watched the film of that, but then later on, as everything sinks in, it's like, but that's what they wanted you to feel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is real life, and these, you don't know what's going to be on the other side of the door or when they leave and stuff. And
that's that like the oh shit moment in the movie. You're like, oh fuck, it's real.
They had no idea there was going to be fucking killer dogs.
I also think that that's done to really kind of like hone in on like, these dudes are not just like bad guys because they kill people, but they have like shitty ideals and like they're making drugs and so like it would only make sense that they would give these characters shitty deaths because they're shitty people. So I thought that even though it's like sucks that they died so fast, it's like, well they died in the hands of these like fucking awful people. Like
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like a statement on who these killers are and how they don't really value life at all.
No, and when the MMA one, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. When he climbs out the window and he's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna like get out of here, and then the skinhead that actually kills him, it looks like he's actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
And like, I almost got this like little glimpse of like, maybe he'll make it because he got stabbed in the back.
Because he's still breathing.
Yeah. And then when you see him getting dragged by like the dog, you're like, oh no, he's been really dead this whole time. It just kind of like reinforces that like, you got killed by these shitty people and you're gonna have a shitty death. So yeah.
That's I'm glad you said that, because that's a cool example of what I was telling you guys about earlier, about how he kind of sets you up for things that happen later. So the jiu-jitsu kid, I forget his name too, in the beginning.
Jiu-jitsu kid.
Yeah, they say one of the vocalist or whatever says, "Oh, easy there, jiu-jitsu," in this situation, and that kind of sets you up for in the back of your head. You're like, "Oh, this guy is familiar with MMA," and he uses that throughout the film and up until his death, of course, or whatever. But I feel like that he was a key part in keeping them kind of alive for a while, or at least they were like, "Oh, this guy is he's gonna be our savior," and they take him away. And I feel like that's what you're just like, where is this film gonna go now? Because they just lost their best guy. You know what I mean? So it just turns on its head after that point. But I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Wes, your rating?
I'm gonna say this is because I talked this up so much. I'll go with a 10, a perfect.
Oh, right.
Nice.
Because I love it so much. I really do. Favorite character, Annie?